Tag TV and Tag Radio. Be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by Globalspeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of Globalspeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Broom, broom. Drivers, start your engines. We're in for one heck of a ride. Established in 1945 as a wholesale vehicle auction operation, Manheim today has thousands of employees in 122 operating locations around the globe. Manheim is the world's largest provider of vehicle remarketing services. In 2010, it handled nearly 10 million used vehicles, transactions representing more than $50 billion in value. Whoa, hit the brakes, bud, because that's just for starters. Manheim is now transforming the wholesale vehicle buying and selling experience through investments in technology and innovative products and services. Greetings, everyone. It's Thursday, February 2nd, 2012, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. Up to the Tech Talk, the multimedia component of Manheim, as we speak with Lance Rigdon, Senior Director of Product Development for Manheim Digital. Through its standard and mobile wireless smartphone apps and live auction platform, Manheim Digital uses state-of-the-art technology to allow automotive dealers and qualified sellers to securely connect with buyers anytime, anywhere. Lance heads the working groups that develop the company's digital strategy, as well as the teams that build and maintain Manheim's portfolio of digital properties. Lance manages over 90 employees, 100 consultants, and a budget annually over $55 million. Just what has been the biggest technology challenge for Manheim, and how did they overcome it? What technologies do they use to meet customer needs? Find out how technology has changed the process of car buying and selling forever, and be the first to know just what the company plans to launch in 2012. As the Tech Talk puts the pedal to the metal on the fast track of the world's leading provider of vehicle remarketing services, as we head across Innovation Drive with Manheim Digital Senior Product Development Director Lance Rigdon. Lance, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hey, Frank, thanks for having me on the program today.
Well, I think probably most of our members and a lot of our listeners already have known of the name Manheim, certainly the world's leading provider of vehicle remarketing services, and I think you might want to go into some detail about what remarketing services relate to in this particular vertical. But equally as important, and probably something that they're not aware of, is how much technology that you're involved with. So maybe just give us a little bit of an overview about Manheim Digital, and then specifically maybe some idea about the kind of technology you guys are into.
Okay, Frank, you're right. Manheim is actually the world's largest automobile auction reseller. So we run auctions all over the United States and around the world, and we sell every year about 10 million used vehicles that add up to about $50 billion in value. And amazingly enough, there are a lot of human beings and a lot of property all around the world that do that. But the Manheim Digital organization is focused on doing that same thing, but by using the medium of the Internet. So in the digital empire, we manage multiple applications, Manheim.com, OVE.com, which are about buying and selling used cars on the Internet. We also have a platform called Simulcast, which is actually the transmission of live, real-time audio and video of a sales event that's happening physically someplace in the United States somewhere. And what this technology allows users to do from their own office or from their home, and soon to be from anywhere on the go, participate in that sale as if they were actually standing there. So they can bid, they can see vehicles, and they can bid and buy vehicles against people who are physically standing there in the lane.
Now, certainly, one of the things that comes to mind is in the entertainment business, there's disruptive technologies that are literally changing the source to consumption, the way that the entire industry is operated. Film, music is going through that type of thing, arguably broadcast. Really, what you're talking about is an advanced new media play and a technology that obviously has changed the entire process of car buying and selling. Maybe go into a little bit about how has that technology changed that process, especially from the wholesaler and consumer standpoint.
Frank, that's actually a great point. 5 or 6 years ago, pretty much every car dealer that needed to buy used cars would have traveled someplace to their closest auction. They would have spent the day at one physical facility, and they would have seen in a sequential auction sort of format a couple of hundred cars. But today, using technology, staying at home in their office, they can search a unlimited or nearly unlimited market of cars, and they can find cars that are close to them or potentially that special car that's a couple of auctions away that they would have in the past had to travel to, but now they can do without leaving their office. Our tools today make all of those tools available through an easy search paradigm. So instead of looking at a big book of all the cars that are going to run today and finding the one specifically that's going to run at 3 o'clock, I can say that I'm looking for a 2010 Ford Explorer. It has to be red. It has to have less than 16,000 miles.
Amazing.
And I can find all the different channels that type of vehicle are selling in and the exact times that they're going to be. And when that time comes, I can quickly and easily buy that one. And if I have a list of 10 or 20 cars I need to buy, clearly it makes that experience much easier.
Now, the commerce model is pure auction. So, in other words, it's not just a matter of sourcing, say, the best price, because that price wouldn't be established, and it would have to be driven by the actual auction environment.
That's true, Frank. There's sort of a mix in our environment today. So a lot of listeners are going to be familiar with eBay. There are certainly cars that are placed up for sale that have a fixed price. If you're interested in this car, it costs $10,000. Click here and you can buy it now and know that you have that vehicle. Simulcast, the Simulcast platform specifically, which is takes along the format of an auction, they can actually do what we call price seeking. So the seller would like to try to get $10,000 out of it, but if the crowd's not really interested and there are no bids coming in at $10,000, the auctioneer can actually back that price down until he finds the floor or what somebody's willing to start bidding. And then typically what happens is the bidding will continue once it found the starting point and will continue back up, and the seller will often get their $10,000 or potentially more once we found that bottom, and that's what that auction process is about. Is it really about trying to find the true value of the car?
And obviously, auction means market-driven, so it works out well for you're going to get a best price possible based on what the market is, and in this case, the market is not, as you're pointing out, limited from a geographic standpoint. You're literally marketing the way you mentioned earlier, as far as an eBay or an Amazon or whatever, to the entire world. What about quality, issues of quality, mileage, and do you do some kind of criteria online or something like that tells or is that up to the individual auction event presenter?
That's a great point. We have a process, especially for vehicles that show up at a Manheim facility. They get what we call a condition report. And that condition report is conducted by a human being at a physical location that has a lot of experience in describing the condition of a vehicle. As you could guess, there's a lot of different things that can impact the value of a used car, especially the older of a used car. What kind of what the tires look like, how much tread is left, does the engine make any kind of noises, how many miles does the car have, was it well maintained, and things like that. So we create things called condition reports, and as dealers search for vehicles, they can search on aspects of that condition report. So as a dealer, I can say, I only want a car that's grade 5, which would be the best grade, or I'll look at cars that are grade 4 that have no more than this kind of mileage, or are within 100 miles of me, because obviously as the car gets further and further away, I obviously am going to incur some kind of expense transporting that car. But what we find is that often, especially when you want a vehicle that might be in high demand, that sometimes it is actually cheaper for you to buy it from further away and have it transported to your location.
Sure. You know, I guess from an outsider's naivete, but I'm hearing the future of global commerce. I mean, if you can virtualize the aspect of car buying, go through the criteria that allows that kind of trust and credibility even from a distance, and obviously the unit prices are pretty extensive. We're not talking about an incidental amount of money. One would think that what you're describing and putting together from a vehicle standpoint obviously could be the future of how we do business in general. Maybe go into primarily it's B2B, right? When you're talking dealers, I mean, when we talk about meeting your customers' needs, what are some of the technologies you use to meet those customer needs?
You're right. That's in our space. It is a wholesale environment. There are roughly about 110,000 dealers in the world, so our audience is pretty fixed.
Yeah.
But, you know, the primary thing that they're purchased on are trying to find a good quality used vehicles that they can sell, that they can make enough profit to be able to be profitable, stay in business, and pay their sales for. So, you know, part of our mission is to facilitate that process, to help them find the best cars they can, the cars that they need to sell, because you know, each dealer will often sort of specialize. You know, I sell only relatively young used cars, or I sell only relatively young trucks, or I'm big on sports vehicles or SUV type of vehicles. Mm-hmm. We help them find those vehicles, and we help them get them at the best price and hopefully the best condition that they can to meet their needs. To be able to sell to the retail. So we're, you know, while we don't deal directly with the retail, we are helping them meet their retail demands.
So obviously there's some kind of credentials or criteria to be able to participate. Do you pre-qualify and identify who these people are as far as being able to, or, you know, or could I, you know, kind of sneak in and get online and be able to participate in an auction?
Unfortunately, Frank, you can't unless you become a car dealer and have a state-issued business license.
Okay.
You can't log on. You can go and see the front page, and you can read some of what we would call the brochureware, but unfortunately you can't get into an auction, and you can't get very far into our site without that. Car dealers are credentialed for all auctions. I mean, Manheim is not the only auction in the world, and in the United States there is a third-party credentialing company that does credential car buyers and sellers. And obviously, us and all the other auctions work with those,
sure.
work with their credentialing. So once you have those credentials, you can get on and buy and sell vehicles with us.
Well, we've got a technology audience, obviously TAG members, and a lot of people that are interested in what's new and what's exciting as far as anything that's going on in technology. But I would submit, as I mentioned earlier, that a lot of the things that you're doing are things that they're probably into from a different reason, but have to deal with a lot of the same technologies. Peel back the onion skin a little bit. Tell us about some of the products and the services, and maybe even go into, are you launching any new products or services in 2012?
Well, thanks for asking. I did want to talk about that a little bit. We do a lot of cutting-edge kind of technology. At least we think we're cutting-edge. You wouldn't think you'd want to be so cutting-edge in dealing with used cars. But clearly technology, as it's helped in a lot of different environments, helps in this environment as well. Mm. You know, we do a lot of Ruby on Rails development, which if you were a geek like me, you know, is a pretty hot language. It's well known for being a rapid development environment. We actually our applications are some of the largest in production applications of Ruby in the world. So we like to brag about that when we have a chance. Obviously, we use a lot of Java technology like everyone else, but some of the coolest stuff that we do is about the stuff that we do to broadcast audio and video. Unlike watching a movie off of HBO Go or something like that, we can't have any latency in the transmission of the video and audio. If you're going to participate with people who are physically standing in a lane that are raising their hand for their bid, you have got to be in real time able to see and hear the auctioneer and bid against those people standing in the line. So we leverage a lot of different technologies, and we actually have something very cool that was nominated for the Excalibur Award this past year. About broadcasting higher definition video than we've ever broadcast before. So we, as we describe it to most people, the audio-video portion of simulcast is actually changing from like regular television to high definition. So we're broadcasting at a much higher frame rate, much larger picture than we ever have in the past. But the cool thing from a business point of view is that we're actually doing that without spending any additional money for our network bandwidth. As you could imagine, broadcasting a lot of audio and video eats up a lot of internet bandwidth, which costs us a lot of money. But we've actually improved the quality and the size of our picture over 60%. While holding costs down. And actually, not only that, and this will really only appeal to the real gearheads, is we've deployed new types of physical hardware and have driven down the cost of setting up a lane from $3,500 per lane to less than $600 per lane.
Yikes.
We've replaced it with boxes that have no moving parts, that are about the size of a large paperback, and that cost on the order of $250 a piece. So we're actually leaving spares at the auction. If they have problems, they can easily switch out and put in a spare. But the that aspect of the technology is really pretty cool. It leads to the other part of your question about are we going to do something cool in 2012?
Well, before you go there, does these new, as you're calling them, boxes, do you have angles, and are you be able to do things like close-ups or something, or is it just a static distance shot of the car?
Today it's a static distance shot.
Okay.
Part of what you have to realize is in an auction, a car stays in front of the bidders. The actual, the auctioneer calling it to the point where it's either sold or it's not sold lasts 30 seconds.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of time to get beauty shots. Now, users in advance can search for cars that are coming up. So I look to see what's coming up in the sales tomorrow. I can identify the 5 or 10 or 15 that I'm interested in.
So you've done the homework and researched it out and know you want that.
Yes, so I can see potentially some vehicles have 20 and 30 still images, so they'll have close-up of there's a quarter-inch ding in the left quarter panel, and they'll be able to see that. They'll be able to see the detailed condition report that talks about all the little issues that happen to be on a particular vehicle. So they do their homework in advance. So now I know the cars that I'm really interested in, and now the magic is going to be, can I buy that car for a price that I'm willing to pay?
Okay, so and I should let the trumpets go now. I interrupted you. You were about to tell us anything new that you were going to be launching in 2012. What's going on?
Well, so I'm going to have to swear you to secrecy, and I might not be able to tell you everything, or else,
and our
Guido would have to come out and
listening.
beat you up. That's right. Everybody on the listening to us today has to kind of keep it a secret. But today auctions, these simulcast auctions occur at a fixed facility. The tool that we're releasing in 2012 will allow us to do the same sort of sale, simulcast, in real time with buyers all over the United States, but to have those vehicles scattered all over the United States.
So in other words, you're creating a virtual auction by bundling different locations together, but in one simulcast.
Absolutely correct.
Wow.
And that is absolutely brand new for the industry. Nobody does that today. There's a huge National Automobile Dealers Association event happening in 2 weeks out in Las Vegas, and the details of the program are going to be announced in a big splashy announcement there. But we're very excited about it, and it is really very new. We've been working with a couple of large partners and have been prototyping this for months. It works fantastic. We're going to demo it at the NADA conference in Las Vegas that I was just talking about.
Pretty exciting. I can't, I'm thinking to myself, the opportunities have got to be amazing. How do you prioritize? I mean, when you talk about some of the things you're already doing, again, as I mentioned to you from our perspective, because we're in new media and do those kind of things, you're dealing with cutting-edge technology in a broad spectrum, not just in your vertical, but focusing again on your company and the things that you've talked about with the technology. Can you identify some of the bigger opportunities or maybe even the biggest opportunity for 2012?
Well, the biggest opportunity for our company is the same thing for all companies. It's to try to get as much done as we can possibly get done. I mean, I've been in technology for 30 years. In my entire career, there's always more stuff that needs to get done than you can possibly get done. There's never enough dollars and there's never enough hours in the day. So that is clearly one of the big challenges for us, is to be able to do that. So we try to do a lot. We're an agile development organization. We try to keep the bureaucracy. We run a lean shop. We try to keep the bureaucracy to a minimum so that we can churn out as much product as possible. A big challenge is making sure that we're developing the things that make the most sense to deliver the value to our customer, with as much transparency to the business as possible, while giving my boss, and obviously his boss, and however how far up that chain goes, the ability to help us steer the direction and provide the goals to get this simulcast everywhere product. Oops, I wasn't supposed to tell the name, but to get that product like that delivered in 2012, along with all the other strategic initiatives that we have.
And needless to say, the kind of thing that you're talking about, and with almost a universal slogan, do more with less, I think everything from government to private sector is dealing with that reality. One thing that anyone knows you and knows Manheim knows also, as serious and as committed as you are, one of the things you're noted for is those great Hawaiian shirts that you wear all the time. So one's got to believe that as serious as it gets and as nose to the grindstone, as I'm sure you are, there's a little bit of fun at Manheim. Maybe just as we close, tell us a little bit about what distinguishes you from other companies in the industry and really other places to work in Georgia.
That's part of it, Frank. Thank you for bringing that out. I do like to wear a Hawaiian shirt every day. I happen to have a loud Hawaiian shirt on right now. But, really the bottom to that is we like to have fun. The truth is, at the end of the day, no matter what job you do, you're going to spend a lot of time at work. We want everyone to give 110%. We really stay focused on that. And the way I believe to get everybody to do 110% is for them to love it. If you love your job and you're passionate about it, you're going to work as hard as you can. We all feel that way, and everything that I do, everything that my leadership team does is about helping everyone enjoy their job, have fun at it, so that they can crank it out when they need to crank it out. And we try to do, everything that we do about Agile. We actually have a very cool thing called Innovation Day. And 5 or 6 times a year, we give the entire technology staff, BAs, QAs, the developers, anybody, gets 24 hours through work time to spend innovating on some idea that they think is really great. And the only requirement that they have to do is they have to show it off to all of their peers when we have the big grand reveal. Everybody gets cake and cookies and stuff like that. But we get to work on things periodically that drive us, that really focus on it. Hey, I think I could make this site look better. Or, hey, I think I could do this one thing better. And it's been super well received. I'm glad that we're able to do it, and I'm glad that everybody gets such a kick out of doing it.
So I'm going to assume that the secret sauce at Manheim is Mai Tais at 5. Is that what you're talking? Well, Lance, knowing how busy your schedule is, thank you so much for taking time today to visit here on Tech Talk.
Frank, thank you. I'm glad I had this opportunity to share with you and all the TAG folks all the really cool stuff that we're doing here at Manheim Digital.